Hello and welcome to a Nalbind and Chill. This is how far I've gotten on my socks that I started in a previous video. So you can see the progress. I'm doing them parallel so I remember what I'm doing with each thread, which is very useful in nail binding. Today I wanted to talk to you about my journey towards having a 0 or very low TBR. I guess I could talk about how it got big first. Basically, while I was a student, I always kept my TBR pretty low, well, everything's relative. Low for me, I guess. I try to think of it like I should be able to get through these books in the coming year. So I would keep them at, I think my max was about 15 or 16 for my uni years. And then I graduated and I got a real job with real money and I spent it on books. So my TBR grew quite fast in 2017 and 2018. And then I put my books in storage in 2018. Lots of my books went into storage. And new stuff kept coming out and I kept being excited about it and I kept buying it. And so when I finally took stock of everything in early 2020, when I moved into this apartment and filled my bookshelf, I took a stock of all my unread books, not just my paper books, but also my ebooks and audiobooks, everything. And at that point, I had 84 books, I think, in March of 2020. And I decided, this is too much. It's stressing me out. I want fewer books. So at first, my goal was just to get down to sort of a manageable amount, like maybe 30, under 30. I think I would be happy with that. Or I thought I would. And then I reached that number and still I wasn't happy. So my tactics for reaching a lower TBR was to get better at stopping books halfway through. So books I weren't enjoying, and just let them go. There's plenty of other books that I could be reading instead. So I got better at that, and I also unhauled a bunch because my main goal was for my TBR pile not to give me stress, not to stress me out. So I kept unhauling books that I felt I should read, and kept the ones I wanted to read. And getting to the difference there was kind of difficult. And in the midst of this, I discovered that one of the things that was making me buy all these books that I didn't really want to read was BookTube and book podcasts and general social media about books. So I disconnected from most of it. Don't remember when, but during this time, from somewhere in 2018 or 19, possibly 20, I decided consciously to disconnect. So I unsubscribed from a lot of things and stopped following a lot of things because excitement over books is very catchy. It's catching. And I wanted to read these books that everyone was raving about. And then it turned out the people I was following didn't have the same taste in books that I did. I followed a lot of people who read literary novels, and I I don't really like literary fiction. I'm much more into genre fiction like fantasy and sci-fi and romance. But I hadn't quite found my way in the adult section of books. So this sort of coincided with that. So yeah, I decided to make some book buying rules and I modified them as I went along. Mainly, I was trying to create a habit that would keep my TBR low when I reached a 0 TBR. So instead of going on book buying bans, I just said, okay, the maximum you're allowed to buy is this number. And so in the end, the rules that worked for me were buying 1 to 2 paper books a month for a total of about 15 books a year. And then for ebooks and audiobooks, there was no strict limit. There was just the stipulation that if I bought it, I had to start reading it immediately. So because they are instantly available, that was my rule, and it's still my rule. So these rules really helped me focus on buying. If I wanted to buy something, it needed to be because I wanted to read it and read it now, not sort of a future Julie wants to read it. And that worked. I mean, what mainly made my TBR shrink was unhauls. That was my main source of TBR shrinkage. And it was very cathartic, and in this whole process, I've learned so much about what I like and don't like in books, and it's been really helpful. And because I really, really like graphs and stuff, let's see, maybe I can just show you. I made a graph. I made a graph of my TBR over time from January 2020. So we start out at 70 something, and 84 is 87 actually in May of 2020 was my main, the very top of this graph. And then I unhold, got down to under 30 by December. And then I was like, oh yeah, happy here. No, not really. And I continued unhauling and not buying much until August, where I reached 0. And then I've been at 0 or 1 for quite a while, and then in January I got some books. So those books are now on my TBR and haven't been read yet. But otherwise, yeah, it's quite a dramatic curve. But yeah, it took me 1.5 years, and there was a lot of battling with my inner sort of wanting to have read things that everyone else was reading, or feeling like I should be reading a book, and between that and what I actually wanted to read. So I'm glad I reached my goal, and it doesn't have to be everyone's goal. This was my goal. It's a part of my plan to keep reading fun and non-stressful, which it's doing. So that's good. Okay, I don't think I'm going to splice a new thread, especially now that we have yarn vomit here. But yeah, that was my story about how I got to 0 TBR. I can link my my what's it called? Should I DNF this book? A DNF wizard that I made for myself. I can link that in the description. And let me know if you have any questions, and if you're if you're also on the road towards 0 TBR, or if we have other goals. Some people love having sort of their own private library of unread books to pick from, and that sounds wonderful if you don't get stressed out by that. I do, so I don't want it. So that was it for today, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye!